So hey, it's Keith. How are you doing? So I made this video yesterday at this time, and I didn't use the earbuds, and so it had that whole dropping out with the audio. And I apologize about not having that video up. Of course, only the people in Australia and in that time zone probably noticed, if you're taking note at all. So this video is a bit of a response and a little bit of an addendum to stuff that has to do with rebounders, rebounding, and back problems, and kind of how I got through my back problems. So, first off, I have scoliosis. I have no arch in my back. I was born that way. So I've always kind of had back problems. I do have I've kind of busted through a lot of that. So, for a little background in me, another area where things kind of went before I really got into the back problems was I was a skater and I did a lot of skateboarding on drugs. Yeah, I was just trying to think of if I'd already started working in my dad's business, because I was doing both for a while. Yeah. Anyway, so my family's business was in large scale excavation, and the level of excavation that only happens in Southern California, the only place in the world where huge volumes of dirt get moved by the biggest Caterpillar equipment that could be. That's the only stuff that's bigger is the place that's in mines. So I worked what's called in that business called on the ground, meaning that I was more in supervision and reading plans or blueprints and interpreting what need to be made. But also I very quickly, because I was the boss's son, also picked up on how to run all the equipment, and later on in life I would get hired. After my dad's company stopped, I would get hired just to teach younger people how to run equipment. So that's basically saying I got really jacked up from, like, especially running dozers or bulldozers as people would know it. And again, the biggest ones in rock, and these machines are on tracks, and of course you can imagine that the operator gets like bounced all around. Anyways, and so I did very quickly find out I would have long periods of time where I would run equipment, simply because there was people that couldn't do it. Most of the time I was on the ground, and I always found, and I find this to this day, that I personally need to be really active. So where should I go with this to just kind of stay in focus? Okay, so the big thing happened with me in 1993. I'd already been seeing chiropractors. Oh, and I do want to say this in case I forget to say it. Getting chiropractic adjustments is really important. Your body easily goes out, and the more it stays out, the more your body gets used to it, and the harder it is to get back. And I do recommend finding a chiropractor who does uses activator and is a little more advanced and does more manipulations than just the what's called the hip roll and the sort of that they do with your neck. So you're gonna have to test those waters out. And then when you get a chiropractic adjustment, don't just get back in the car and drive home. Go for a walk, and the longer walk, the better. So okay. So in 1993, I had a slight, it wasn't that big, not like some people, but I was a little bit, and I think it was more of a kind of, not so much in my soul really, but I did enjoy the whole world of adrenaline sports, and so I was really into snowboarding, and I kind of fucked myself up pretty good snowboarding in 1993, and I stopped all that, and the chiropractor that I saw at that time said, you need to stop all of that. And I think I'd more or less, because I was so busy in work, I had already stopped skateboarding. And he said, you just need to stop all that because you're so tall and you're so skinny. It's just, your height is just more leverage to break things. So I currently, I have a active plan with a chiropractor I've been seeing for 14 years. I pay a one rate fee for 4 visits a month, how I want it. And so I go there all the time, whether I need it or not. And most of the time you need it because your back can always be adjusted, and especially somebody like me that's born with what's a scoliosis. Again, I have no bend in my back. It's not scoliosis like when you're looking at the body like this. It's that arc. I don't have that. So like when you look at me from behind, it looks like I have no butt, which I do have no butt. I have real tiny hips, but it's even worse pronounced by the fact that my spine is straight. Okay, so the first place I started finding relief with my back problems was, and it's early, is actually staying active. Okay, and then I got really heavily into yoga, which had always been into yoga, but my second partner, boyfriend, was a yoga instructor, and I learned pretty much everything there was to know about like good basic yoga positions and stuff like that. And so I started seeing some relief there, but the big thing came when I, and you'll see that early in some of these videos, like probably one of my first 10 or 11 or 12 videos of me talking about the Chinese tonic herb eucommia. That's eucommia, eucommia, eucommia. And again, I'm not doing things on screens and stuff like that. I'm not really segregating myself from these video bloggers that are like high on sheen and gloss and really low on content. Plus I just don't have time to edit videos. So that was in, I got into that because of being around the whole David Wolf crew and more Truth Calkins, really, who was a kind of a couple years celebrity, and he was really into Chinese tonic herbs, and I just got obsessed with that, and then found this woman up here, and a Chinese acupuncturist that I interned for and was an apprentice, and I was very voracious to learn all that, and I pretty much, my learning abilities are amazing. When I really want to learn something, I pretty much taught myself, like, there's not very many people that can touch me with Chinese tonic herbs, like, whatever. So I got into the eucommia, and then again, I was already into Truth Calkins, and then he convinced me to buy the Cellerciser. And I do want to say I spelled Cellerciser wrong in that video. It's C-E-L, Cellerciser, E-R-C-I-S-E-R. If you, Google will correct it. But it's the name Dave Hall is the guy that's the inventor of that. And so I got that in September of 2009. And I think they're around $2.99 maybe or something. And hey, if you mention me, you'll get a 10% discount. My name is Keith. Of course, you know that. My last name is McGrew, M-C-G-R-E-W. So in terms of what I know, there's two styles of rebounders to go with. It's either the Cellerciser or the Bellicon. And the Cellerciser is significantly cheaper. I sort of prefer that one for what I use it for. The Bellicon sits way high off the ground, like quite a bit. The Cellerciser is like 12 to 14 inches, so I could not do big bouncing in a normal house. I have high ceilings, like right here where I'm standing, where I am. My roof goes down to a normal height in the front there, so that's why my Rebounders right over here in this corner. I'm not sure if I could do the Bellicon in my house with my height, but if you get the Bellicon, you won't be able to do it in the house, that's for sure. And so that one is actually, it doesn't have such a tight bounce. It has rubber bands that you can change out on it, and some of the looser ones you get really deep bounces, so it's a little more muscle building, whereas the Cellerciser is more tonifying. I prefer the Cellerciser. Actually, if you were just really obsessive, you could do both. Now, I have been cautioned, and I do see that this is true with a lot of things. Don't go with a cheaper one. The Cellerciser has a lot of springs around it, so you have a lot of support, and supposedly you can injure your back. I just find in everything to do with health, you sort of get what you pay for. You know, you could definitely find herbs and stuff cheaper and all that kind of things, but the ones that are expensive, they're expensive for a reason. It's the same with the clothes. I'm not talking about brand names and things like that, but just things that you're going to pay for, you're going to have more longevity with, and that's not going to fall apart, and it's just going to be, you know what I'm saying. Oh, where are we time? Okay, so that actually was a big breakthrough with me with my back. And so I wanted to talk about how I healed, get into some of this. This is going to be sort of a video by itself of how I healed my back. It's not, I eternally have problems, and the thing with me is I always need to move. So one of the big things with healing at all, whether it's back or whatever, but a lot of what has to do with problems with the back is to do with inflammation, of where an area gets injured and then it becomes inflamed in there. And I'm just guessing, but I think that's probably the body's reaction to sort of act like a bandage to tighten up in that area. But that actually, maybe not. I don't know why you get that swelling and that tenseness. But what I do know is that you don't want that to happen, because that tightening is going to keep nutrients from getting in there, and it's going to keep what I was talking about in the hydration video. It's going to keep that area from being liquid, and the more liquid the body is, the more that the nutrients and stuff like that can get in there. You want all the parts of your body to be as liquid as possible, and that's why these supplements like the MSM, the DMSO, and especially those, what else is there good for hydration? Basically those, I believe, I hope I'm not drawing a blank, of helping with structured water. So the other products that I showed were more for structuring water. The Crystal Grid structures the water before it goes in. The Mega Hydrate you take as a pill, although you can open it and put it in the water. Of just using good water and of being hydrated, and of not like, whatever. So the other things are aloe vera, of course, and ultimately fresh. I don't believe that aloe vera is as effective when it's just the liquid in a bottle. Irish moss, which I believe also has a connective tissue thing. The bottom line is I've healed all of this stuff. And the other thing is just getting a heavy yoga practice going on. So what my response is basically that the Rebounder really got me to the level that I am with being where I am with my back health. And I'm getting ready now to go to yoga, actually. I do a regular yoga practice. There's actually a lot of stuff that you can look up on YouTube and follow it. As far as like a steady practice. I'll do something here. My intention is to like go out in my driveway and have Jason film it, and I'll show you some of my favorite poses, which always have to do with more the core. The other thing is things that stop inflammation, and in general that's just being more on a ketonic vegan paleo diet, and the bacteria, the parasites, the infestations of all of that stuff is just does not help with that. David Wolf's program Longevity Now about calcification of the body, that taught me a lot. In general, ingesting a lot of MSM. MSM can be taken in all forms. I put it in everything, basically. That's why I use that 5-pound bag. So you could just start light bouncing on the Rebounder. And where am I now with time? I've actually started working on putting some playlists together of music to listen to while you bounce. I think I'm not going to talk about that now, but that can really be the difference between, like, for me, I was actually really working yesterday of going through music that for me makes me want to bounce harder and get more into it, get my brain into it. And it's not just high beats per minute. There's sort of a drive that you can have with music. If it was just beats per minute, I would just dial something up on a drum machine and get it going. And the music that really gets me going with rebounding is not really the music I like to listen to. The one that really gets me going is 1980s Ultravox, and that's specifically I could just put Rage in Eden on by Ultravox and listen to that all the way through and get good bounces off that. But my playlist will be bouncing around between Ultravox Vienna and Ultravox Rage in Eden, and that just has a drive to it with the bass and the way that the melodies are, and it just has this like fast forward kind of momentum to it that makes me want to bounce harder as opposed and faster and more deep as opposed to if I don't. And obviously, if you have back problems, you don't want to do this hard bouncing. So it's Keith. Support me by supporting my music. Links in the drop down. secondculture.bandcamp.com, second-culture.com. Also in the drop down is a link to the Cellerciser website. I've never pursued wanting the Bellicon. Anyways, that's my video for today. Probably going to do another video. I'm not sure what I kind of know what the topic is, but in case it changes, I'm not going to say right now. All right, bye-bye.